Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for a Learning and Growing webinar on self-care and self-compassion. Let's take care of ourselves by being kind. Our presenter today is Dr. Berdikar of Concord University. My name is Sidra, and I'm your moderator for Hawks Learning. We will have a Q&A session after the presentation, so please enter any questions you have into the Q&A module as we go, and we'll answer them at the end. I'll now hand it over to our presenter.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Berdikar. I am an assistant professor of psychology at Concord University. So today we'll be talking about self-care and self-compassion. Let's take care of ourselves by being kind. As you all know, we have just passed midpoint of the semester for many institutions. So a lot of stress going around. A lot of self-care that's needed. So I thought this might be a good opportunity for to present on this particular topic. So the objectives for this particular webinar is basically to define the concept of self-care and self-compassion, list examples of self-care, understand compassion fatigue symptoms and professional burnout, as well as identify strategies to self-care and self-compassion. Some of you might already be doing some of the strategies, but hopefully this presentation will provide you a little bit more or different kinds of strategies in order to take care of yourself and others. So what is self-care? Self-care is basically the practice or ritual we use to reduce stress, cope with the challenges of work, enhance subjective sense of well-being, and replenish energy levels. As I said a little bit earlier, that all of us are in that process midway through the semester, some energy that's being lost, and how do we basically care for ourselves while also taking care of our students, faculty, staff, and everyone else. Work-life balance. This is very important. The effect of smart technology and how that has affected our work-life balance. Sometimes it extends our working day. It also blurs our boundaries, right? So work and home, we sometimes might have a difficult time figuring out what and where our boundaries lie in regards to work. If we're working from home, that's really difficult. Sometimes when you have your emails on your phone, you might bring stuff home, or there might be a need for you to look at that email as soon as your phone goes off. Work bleeds into personal life, serious impact on health and well-being. Unfortunately, smart technology is great. We're able to do this presentation due to smart technology. However, it does have a serious impact on your health and well-being. Self-care is more important now than ever. Just think about in regards to the pandemic as well. We still have some effects of the pandemic. We're not completely out of the woods from COVID. However, we're getting there. And self-care is more important now than ever. So let's see what suffering might look like. There are a variety of different ways how people might be suffering from lack of self-care. Loss of vitality, fatigue and depletion, burnout, feeling overwhelmed, cynicism, workaholism, isolation, narrowed lives, boredom, confrontation and conflict, arrogance, helplessness, right? All of these are might be symptom or might be a way that people are suffering. Sometimes people suffer in a variety of different ways. Sometimes you might be anxious. Sometimes you might be depressed. These are usually the signs that something is going on. You might not be feeling the way you used to feel before. Okay, so all of these could be a sign of suffering. So let's get into self-care a little bit. Some of the ways to look at self-care, okay? Identify avoidance and show up to the ongoing challenges and stressors. So if you're going through some kind of stressors, or there are challenging situations, show up. Do what you have to do. A lot of people tend to avoid situations because it's causing them a lot of stress. And the hope is, once you show up and are able to systematically use some of the skills that we're going to talk about today in order to attack those challenges or stressors, it might be helpful to take care of yourself. Commit to self-care moves. They look in a variety of different ways for different people. Focus on activities that increases flexibility. Not just flexibility in terms of your body, but flexibility with time. It always seems like there is no time for self-care. You can do self-care in literally 5 minutes just by sitting in your chair that you're sitting right now and basically doing nothing. I always say that doing nothing is doing something. And that is something that I hold dear to myself. Doing nothing is actually doing something. No one model exists. There are many different ways to practice self-care. Self-care looks very differently for different people. It might look very different to me. It might look different to you. Differences may relate to personal history, gender, and stage of life. Self-care looks very differently for students, faculty, staff. So it really depends on who you are and how you look at self-care. So here are some of the examples of self-care. Quiet walks by yourself. So yeah, I mean, it seems easy, but how many of you actually do quiet walks by yourself? How many of you actually take 30 minutes out of your day and go for a walk? Little meditative periods, waiting for something, a cancellation of a session, a brief illness, are opportunities for a quiet, reflective, peaceful time. So sometimes I would recommend not to wait for you to take that time off. I would suggest that you have those times off in your day. Time and space for meditation. Meditation does not mean you have to sit there quietly and breathe for a number of minutes. You can meditate by literally doing nothing. There are times that when you're driving from place A to place B, and there might be times where you don't remember how you got from place A to place B. That's because you were almost in a meditative state. Reading spiritual fiction, biographies, these might be helpful for self-care. Some light exercise, right? Whether, as I said, whether it's walking or running or something that is helpful for you. Opportunities to laugh in the company of cheerful friends. It's helpful to take a moment and just laugh. I think we sometimes forget to laugh, smile, right? We're in our own world, always trying to finish what we need to do in order to get to the next one. A hobby. Find a hobby that you really, really have been waiting to do for a long time. just enjoy the hobby that you really, really want to do. Listening to music you enjoy. Listening to music is one of the best self-care methods that you can use. So here are some examples of self-care. Now let's talk about self-compassion, the other part of our presentation. So self-compassion actually means suffering, okay? Compassion, excuse me. Compassion means co-suffering. So having compassion for oneself is really no different than having compassion for others. To have compassion for others, you must notice that they are suffering, right? So in the same way, it's also important that you observe yourself, that there is some suffering happening for yourself, right? So that might be helpful. Compassion involves feeling moved by others, suffering so that your heart responds to their pain. When this occurs, you feel warmth, caring, and the desire to help the suffering person in some way. Another word that comes to mind is empathy. Basically, putting yourself in another person's shoes and really experiencing what they're going through based on your own experience. So compassion is feeling what other people are feeling, especially when they're going through hard times. Having compassion also means that you offer understanding and kindness to others when they fail or make mistakes, rather than judging them. We're in a very judgmental world. Sometimes we have a hard time taking a moment to help other people and say, it's okay, you made a mistake, that's fine. I think it's important to be kind and caring to individuals. Finally, when you feel compassion for another and not as seen in pity, it means that you realize that suffering, failure, and imperfection is part of the shared human experience. So think about that for a moment. Suffering, failure, and imperfections. All of us go through some kind of suffering. All of us probably have failed at something, and we probably should realize that we're not perfect. If we were perfect, we wouldn't be here. So it's important to recognize those things and say they're part of who we are. It's part of life. It's part of our experience as humans. So that's self-compassion. So with self-compassion comes compassion fatigues. And compassion fatigue looks like this in a variety of different places. So when we're talking about work, there is some symptoms that people might feel regarding work when they're feeling compassion fatigue, and those are work dread or avoidance. I really don't want to go to work. That feeling, or I really don't want to do the work. That feeling could be due to compassion fatigue. And if you can identify that this is happening, and before you used to love going to work and you used to love your work, and now you're feeling the opposite, one of the reasons could be due to compassion fatigue. Lower empathy, and we just talked about empathy a little bit, when you're not really able to put yourself in another person's shoes and experience them, and you're feeling a little more judgmental towards that person, there is a possibility that your empathy level has gone down. Absenteeism, so not showing up, okay, to work or missing work, that could be a reason. Lack of enjoyment. You don't enjoy what you used to enjoy before. So that's compassion fatigue symptom in the workplace. From an emotional standpoint, irritability, anxiety, oversensitivity, restlessness, substance use. This could be legal or illegal drugs, resentment, poor judgment and concentration. So all of these are compassion fatigue when it comes to your emotions. And finally, the physical aspect. You might know that you're going through compassion fatigue when you start having headaches, gastro issues, okay, muscle tension. So muscle tension usually occurs in your back, your hips, sometimes even in your legs. Insomnia, okay, inability or not getting enough sleep, fatigue, right, feeling tired all the time, and sometimes even cardiac issues. Okay, these are physical symptoms when individuals are having compassion fatigue. Okay, so with that, there is a possibility of professional burnout. So what happens during professional burnout? There's disengagement and withdrawal responses. So one of the major things people do is, I really don't want to engage with people, and I'm slowly going to withdraw from what I used to love doing. Results from chronic neglect, self-sacrifice, right? Emotional exhaustion. So you are basically exhausted. Depersonalization, okay, which can include reduced empathy and reduced sense of accomplishment, even though you're accomplishing all of these different things, but you don't feel like you have accomplished anything. So what do? In a lot of situations, people start to pile on more things on their plate when they feel like they have not accomplished something. So when you do that, professional burnout rate goes higher. You start putting things on your plate and you realize that I haven't met my needs. So this is one of the reasons why professional burnout starts increasing, losing your passion, vision, and purpose. So understanding and figuring out why you were there in the original, what was your purpose there? What is your vision? What is your passion? Trying to figure these things out might be really helpful in professional burnout. So what are some of the causes of professional burnout? Excessive workload, as I just mentioned, right? You don't feel accomplished and you start piling on things on your plate. So that's excessive workload. Little control or autonomy in your role, right? So if you don't feel like you have control over what you can do and can't do, that could potentially lead to professional burnout. Failure to maintain boundaries with others. Remember earlier, we were talking about boundaries with smart technology and how those can be blurred with work-life balance. Sometimes boundaries can also be blurred with coworkers as well as managers or bosses. And it's important to learn how to have those boundaries so you can have those conversations of saying, well, this is too much work and I don't feel appropriate doing so much work, right? Perfectionism, personality, right? This is a personality where you're trying to get things perfect. And finally, poor self-care. And one of the reasons why we talk about professional burnout is how often that has been occurring to people, which has led people to try quiet quitting, right? A lot of you probably are aware of the idea of quiet quitting. I am not going to do more than I have to. I am going to do what my job requires me to do. And I am not going to go above and beyond because I just don't get paid for doing that, right? So that's an important aspect of professional burnout. So this is all the things that are happening with people. So how can we take care of ourselves? So here is a multi-dimensional self-care model. So self-care is in the middle, and there are different aspects of your life that you can focus on in order to take care of yourself. So there is the emotional, there is mind, there's work, there's relationships, there's body, and there's spirit. So let's start with body here. Diet, exercise, sleep, and GP visit, general practitioner visit, general physician visit, right? So diet, have a good diet that includes both fruits and vegetables and also some protein, right? That has all different variety of different foods. Exercise, this can look in a variety of different ways. You can go to the gym, or you can take a walk every day, okay? Or use your treadmill, have a small gym at the house if that's possible. So trying a variety of different things there. Sleep. This is one of the biggest things that people need in order to do well. Getting between 7 to 8 hours of sleep every day is important for your body. This allows your body to heal. When you don't get enough sleep, enough good sleep, it can cause harm to your body. People get sick. Your immune system is not working properly. There might be other issues that might occur due to lack of sleep. You might have issues with your heart. There might be cardiovascular disease happening if you're not getting enough sleep. So that's important. GP visit, general physician visit, at least see your physician once a year. The other thing that I also want to mention is visiting your dentist at least twice a year, even if it's just for cleaning. Excuse me. The next part is emotional expression, debriefing incidents, activity that brings joy or energies. So, expression of how you're feeling, talking about your good and your bad feeling to people that you trust. Debriefing incidents. Usually, if there is a challenging incident that occurs, or there are certain things that are happening, try and talk about it, and hopefully you would be able to resolve those issues, so you're not constantly thinking about it. Also, activity that bring joy or energies, trying different activities that bring joy for yourself. I like traveling, and that brings joy to me. This summer, I had the opportunity to go to the Himalayan range. That was great. That was self-care for me. And it really, really helped me grow as an individual. Your mind, stress management, such a huge aspect of your life. Managing your stress, this has a great impact on your body. It has a great impact on your mind and your emotions too. Personal development, doing something that is completely different. For example, someone said playing the piano, learning the piano, right? That is one of the few things that you can do. Mastering a new skill. Sometimes people want to learn something new, and here's a great opportunity where you can do that. Relationships, friends, family, clubs, professional organization, networking, all of these are an important aspect of your relationship. Growing your relationship and strengthening the existing ones might be an important aspect of self-care, because they are the people that might be helping you when you're not doing so great with your self-care. Work and spiritual. So work, manageable workload. Quiet quitting might be a thing for you if that's something that is helpful. Support from peers, supervisors, and managers. Breaks from work. This is so very important. Taking some time, basically going, I just want to take a few minutes for myself. There are certain countries in Asia that basically take an hour naps, even if it's at their workspace. And this is to help better their work. Meaningful, satisfying tasks, doing meaningful, satisfying tasks. Some people are in their jobs, basically doing their jobs and not enjoying. That becomes boring to people. Okay, so finding a job that inspires you, that that basically helps you grow as an individual might be something that you might want to think about. Professional development, trying new ways to grow. Okay, and finally, spiritual and meaning in life. So I know this sounds a little philosophical, but what is your purpose? Why are you here? What do you want to leave behind after your time is up? Religious, nature, and environment. So we have this wonderful thing called nature around us. Why don't we use it? And it's free. It's such an important thing to be in nature and enjoy nature. I have a small video here in a moment that talks about how important it is to be part of the nature. And finally, helping and volunteerism. Volunteerism. So helping other people and volunteering your time actually shows that you feel good about yourself. Okay. So doing that more often might be helpful for self-care. Hopefully, helping and volunteering is going to be different than your actual work. It's usually better if it's different than your actual work, because that brings a different kind of understanding of life. So that is all about self-care, multidimensional self-care. What I want to do next is show you a video of what self-care actually looks like here. So here we go.
When was the last time you were stressed out? I take that as on your way here. Maybe you were on your way to work, running late and stuck in traffic. Or were you at home paying your monthly bills? Maybe you were just watching the 5 o'clock news. Your heart starts racing, your palms get sweaty, your stomach jumps into your throat. We experience these body sensations so often, we don't even know the difference now. So indulge me for a minute. If you have anything in your hands, just set it aside. Plant your feet firmly on the ground. Close your eyes. Inhale with me, in through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. When you're ready, open your eyes. Congratulations, you just practiced self-care. It can be that simple. Unfortunately, the $10 billion self-care industry doesn't want you to think so. There's this myth that's fed by Instagram posts and countless advertisements that self-care is a spa day, pedicures and Prosecco, a weekend-long Netflix binge, anything pumpkin spice related. All these indulgences are great, but they're not self-care. We're left chasing these perfect self-care experiences, and they don't actually restore us. So we're left with a question: if that's not self-care, what is self-care, and how do I practice it? Self-care is deliberately taking care of your well-being through restorative activities. One of the greatest threats for our well-being is physical and emotional stress. Stress is one of the leading causes of healthcare issues in America. And we experience it every day. We experience stress by what we put in our bodies, what we put on our bodies, the thoughts that we think, and the choices that we make throughout our day. Some of the most stressful things that we can put in our bodies are sugar, alcohol, excessive caffeine, and processed foods. Those are also some of the most consumed items in America. So with all this stress impacting our immune system, our energy levels, our emotional well-being, it's essential that our self-care practice does the opposite. About a year ago, a coworker asked me what I did for self-care. I cringed when she asked me that question. I said, I eat and I sleep, and that's enough, totally brushing her off. At the time, I was managing a high-volume retail business in Washington, D.C. My husband and I were starting a company, and we're raising our 2-year-old son. I started every day with coffee and a scone, went to work, had very few breaks, and finished my day watching Netflix and scrolling on my phone. I was in complete denial about what I needed to do to take care of myself. Ultimately, I burned out and I quit my job. I decided to pursue a passion of mine, and I began working as a labor doula and a childbirth educator. Now, a large aspect of that job is to support pregnant women and prepare pregnant women to be as relaxed as possible during what could be a stressful event in a stressful environment. And I learned really quickly that to be successful at that, I had to be a relaxing presence, which meant I had to take care of myself. And that's when I discovered how to practice self-care. My foundation began as a diet rich in fruits, vegetables, and whole plant-based foods. And then I added in 3 restorative activities to make my self-care practice. The first, moments of stillness and in silence. We just practiced this a few minutes ago. We are bombarded by noise every day. The TV, the radio, traffic, our kids yelling at us. But the loudest noise of all is the voice in our heads. We have roughly 60,000 thoughts a day, and for some of us, 80% of those thoughts are negative. When we meditate and have moments of stillness and silence, it brings awareness to that internal voice. And when we have that awareness, that's when we can choose what thoughts we're holding on to and which we want to let go of. We can also adjust the volume on how loud that internal voice is. The first time I meditated, I was sitting in a chair and I immediately got squirmy and my back started hurting and my internal voice got so loud and it was talking about all the things I should be getting done on my to-do list versus sitting doing nothing. But I committed to 5 minutes a day, and slowly but surely that voice got quieter. I have one suggestion for starting a powerful meditation or stillness practice, and it's simply to be comfortable. You don't need to sit in a straight back, rigid chair. You can actually be comfortable on your couch. I actually encourage you to be as comfortable as possible without falling asleep. The second restorative activity I added in was movement. This could be walking, running, dancing, yoga, jumping jacks on your living room floor. Our bodies are meant to move. And when we move and when we exercise, it creates endorphins, which first, they help sleep, which naturally reduces our stress. And it also sends a positive feeling through the body that's similar to that of morphine. You don't need a fancy gym or trainer to do this, although they may help sometimes. And just 10 minutes a day makes a difference. The last restorative activity I added in was time in nature. According to environmental psychology, time in nature will improve your mood, reduce stress, and improve cognitive function. And the Environmental Protection Agency says that the average person spends 93% of their life indoors. So we're left with this incredible opportunity to support our well-being simply by going outside. We are animals of nature, and we often live completely disconnected from our natural environment. We may go days, if not weeks, without our bare hands or feet touching the ground. My son, he's almost 3 years old. He's the most kinesthetic child out there. He loves being outside. If I let him, he'd spend all day outside, in the backyard, at the beach. And when he's outside, he's not just being outside. He is rubbing his hands into the dirt. He is touching leaves, trees, and catching frogs. And I could never understand why his shoes didn't stay on his feet for more than 5 minutes. But maybe he was onto something. The term earthing is now being used to describe your bare hands or feet on the ground, our earth. And there's a renowned cardiologist who says that the reduction of inflammation due to earthing can actually be documented by infrared imaging and white blood cell count. Some of the other benefits include reduced stress, improved sleep, improved circulation. So it's no surprise to me that when my son spends most of the day outside, he naps, he sleeps like a rock, he eats everything I give him, and there's very few emotional outbursts. When you combine these activities and practice them daily, it will support your mood, increase your energy, increase your joy. Imagine if you practice self-care for 30 minutes a day, 10 minutes of stillness, 10 minutes of movement, 10 minutes of time in nature, on top of a diet that is rich in whole plant-based foods. That's over 180 hours of self-care in a year. But I'm so busy. When am I going to get time for 30 minutes a day of self-care? Well, we can start by looking at the 5 hours a day that the average person watches TV, or the 50 minutes a day that we spend on social media. We can start there. But before you get worried about adding a self-care practice onto your never-ending to-do list, remember that it is a practice. It's not about getting it right or having the perfect self-care photos for your social media. It's about showing up for yourself every day. What would be possible for you if you showed up for yourself? Thank you.
So, thank you. If you have any questions, I am happy to answer any of those questions that people may have. I'm going to stop sharing now. So thank you, everyone.
If you have any questions, go ahead and enter them into the Q&A module now, and we will do our best to get them answered. All right, if we don't have any questions, Dr. Bertikar, do you have any closing remarks?
No, I just want to thank everyone for your time, and take care of yourself.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for attending today. If you or any of your fellow instructors are interested in presenting for our Learning and Growing webinar series, please submit your proposal to the Learning and Growing website, which I'm going to go ahead and link in the chat right now for easy access. And we will be emailing you a link of the recording from today once it becomes available. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your day. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close out the, oh wait, there's a Q&A. Oh, no, someone just saying thank you.
Yeah. All
All
right.
right, I'm going to go ahead and close out the Zoom. It was a pleasure working with you.
Yeah. Have a good one.
Take care.
Yeah.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.